I've been planting plants my whole life. I've been planting them professionally for over 40 years. Doesn't matter whether it's a tree or a shrub or a vine or ground cover, they all have the same basic requirements. And I'm going to go through a few of those things today so that way you can see how easy it is to plant something. First and foremost, get your tools together first. You need to have water. If it's a little further away from the house, put it in a watering can or bring a hose over with a water wand on it. You need a good shovel. Nice shovel works, rake, a few other things, and you're in great shape. Now, when you're digging the hole, it's very important to remember the hole should be the same depth, the exact same depth as that shrub is in the container. It should be about 1.5 times the width. Roots grow to the side. They really don't grow down. Once we've got that hole set, I've got to make sure that I'm keeping the site nice and neat and clean. I use a garbage can lid when I'm digging my hole out. That way all the material stays nice and neat in a pile. You can also use one of those old flying saucers the kids used to use sliding down the hill, or a piece of plastic. But if you don't make a mess in the ground, you don't have anything to clean up later on. Okay, my hole is dug. I've got compost ready. I've got my soil sitting in a pile, water. Now we're ready to do some battle. First thing we want to do is we're going to need to get this plant out of the container as easily as possible. That means we're going to knock on the door just a couple times. We're going to knock on this side, nobody's home. We're going to knock on this side, and since I love things in threes, or trees, knock on this side. This plant's going to slide right out of the container so sweetly now. Look at that. You think I've done this before. Now if you look closely at the roots, they've actually grown, starting to grow around into container size. I'm going to rip the roots apart. You can use a tool like this to rip the roots. You can use a shovel to cut the roots, but you must make sure the roots have been cut. Otherwise, this plant will never reach its full genetic potential. Once the roots have been cut or ripped, I will now carefully set this plant inside the planting pit, and I double check to make sure it's the right height. You never want it too low. Plant it low, it won't grow. Plant it high, it might die. The same height as it was. Now I'm going to take some compost, about 30% by volume. And this is how scientific you need to be. Yeah, okay, that's about 30%. And now I'm going to take some soil, and I'm going to put the soil in, back around the hole. If there's rocks, I don't mind it. If there's roots, I'm going to take the roots out. Most soil that we're putting plants in already have rocks in the ground. Now once I've got this amount of soil set, geez, maybe I'll add a little bit more compost so it's plus or minus 30%. Okay, now I'm going to add, oh geez, I don't want to shovel anymore. Why don't I just pick up this container? Oh my goodness, look at how nice and clean that is. We'll pull the branches out so they don't get buried. Roots go in the ground, branches prefer to stay above the ground. And before I add any water, so I can keep my shoes nice and neat, I'm going to add my mulch. Now mulch of any kind, you never want to use weed fabric. Never, never, never. Mulch is to be considered as pre-soil. And if you have soil, you're going to have good roots. If you have mulch, you'll have healthy soil. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Now I'll step it in just a little bit before I take my water wand and give it a good thorough soak. This is very important. Now I'm going to pull any of the small branches that might be under the mulch. I'll pull them up, and by giving this plant a good thorough soak, all of the air pockets that are around the plant are nice and compacted. A little tarantella dance here, and I'm in pretty good shape. Now, if you're going to transplant something in the summertime, spraying it down with wilt-proof is a good idea. Anything will benefit from wilt-proof. It's not necessary most of the time if the plant's been grown in a nursery pot. After this plant is in, I'm going to give it a good thorough drink of Neptune's Harvest Fish and Seaweed Tonic. This is the best thing you can do to start initiating new roots in their brand new home. And a nice little soak. Believe it or not, when you use Neptune's, the aroma will deter deer for about a week or so. So there's a side benefit too. Let's review. Dig a hole that's more of a bowl than deep. You want to have it 1.5 times the size of the container. We're going to dig out onto something to keep it neat and clean. 30% by volume is the amount of compost we're going to put in the ground. When we backfill, we first put on our mulch and then we do our watering. If we want to keep our shoes nice and neat, it's okay to do it the other way if you're wearing your wellies. After we're done, we want to make sure we give it a good shot of Neptune's Harvest Fish and Seaweed Tonic. And then, in terms of drying out, I recommend a moisture meter. This is the only thing that will positively tell you when the plant needs a new drink. 10-4 is the way we do the moisture meter, up to 10, down to 4. If you have one of these and check your plant every couple days, guaranteed success. Really, it is that simple if you follow these simple rules. Happy planting to you. I'll be looking for the green side up.